Greetings everybody, Amar here, and today I'm doing a Texas CASH-5 workout. I got a request from Double Dragon a couple of weeks back, 4 weeks to be precise, and so I did some snippings from Advantage Gold. I actually started updating my Excel file with all the information, and I was coloring it, but I did a new mistake and didn't do Control S to save, and it froze. So that was annoying. But so I'm just doing it straight snippings and not with a cross-reference to my Excel file, which I'll do at another time. So the first thing I noticed when I was testing the info in Excel is that October 30th drawing is omitted. So make sure you update that manually when you get a chance. And just keep in mind that unfortunately the next time that you, unless you call Joe and let him know that there's data missing, if you do the auto update, after you fix it, it'll take it out again. So just something to keep in mind. So the first thing I like to do when I do my workout generally is I'll look at the hit charts, or she suggests that you should look at the hit charts. So I have hit charts number 7 here, and the best number in the game so far is the number 10, and in the last 50 game chart it's hit 4 times. Okay, so definitely you want to get an intimate feeling, at least with the top numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say that the top 5, and at least the bottom 5, because the bottom feeders are going to be difficult to guess. Now the 31 here, this is the worst number in the game, and it actually had a skip of 69, which was pretty crazy, and I'll show that later. Now, one of the things with the hit charts is you can kind of bypass using this chart here by changing the range. And you can change the range here by you click on this little R on the main page, and then you click the use fixed range box, and you use the up and down arrow keys here, or you can just type in the number. So this is 180, but if you put in 50, you're going to get a 4B of this, right? So you can see here that the 5 is the coldest number because it has the fewest hits, whereas the 2 is the hottest number because it has the most hits, and that's in the last 50. But if you look at the 10, it shows here that it has 1 dormant period, 2 dormant periods. So it doesn't give you an overall great picture of what's happening. And this 7 is not a 7. It's actually a 10. Now the reason why I know that is because I just did a workout and I forgot to turn on the mic, so I remember all the information pretty much, and I'm just doing it again instead of taking a break. But yeah, so I like to do last 180 because it gives you a better picture of what's happening. Before we look at the 180, let's look at the drawing since hit chart. So I made some markings here. So here's your 10. Now I use the big as a convention so I know how many dormant periods this is. So if you use the big, which is the BYGG, the green is 3 and the gray is 4. So this, just looking at this drawing since hit chart, I know that this is 3 and I know this is 4. Okay, but you would have to determine that using chart 4B and going through all of the streaks and the dormant periods to know where exactly you are. So let's look at, let's see, what are we going to look at? We'll look at the 4B last 180. So here, again, I changed the range, and you can see it's down here. Range 495 to 674. This is should be 180 games, and you can see the coldest number is over here. This is -9. This is the 31, and here's the skip of 69. And the 34 is one of the hottest because it has the longest, has the more hits here. And here it's +7, and it's +7 over the average. And so let's see here. What else? Now you don't know if you're gonna have a long streak or a short streak. So the 10 had a very long streak here, and then it had one dormant period, two dormant periods, and then it had another streak here. So this is one dormant period. Considering this technical correction, two dormant periods, another technical correction, three dormant periods, four dormant periods, and now this is a hot skip. Now this hot skip could be a trend reversal if it goes into a streak, but if it just hits once, then I consider it a technical correction, and then we're going to go into the next dormant period. So let's see, what else did I do here? Now, I went to the, I had originally changed the range to 180, and I went to the quick stats. Now in the quick stats, you can sort by hitting the hit ratio button over here, and it'll sort from best to worst. And here, in the last 180, in the last 180 games, here's the number 10. It's over here. It's out one game, and it's at 105%. So considering that the 10 is the best number in the game so far, I would certainly consider it as a power number and look for it to have a hot skip. So when I say have a hot skip, I'm talking about that a skip of 0, 1, 2, or 3. So right now it's at skip 1. All right, so I would play it at skip 1. If it doesn't hit, skip 2. If it doesn't hit, skip 3, and then I would drop it. Okay, now I had gotten into, that was like my rule that I would do, but I had noticed that sometimes it would then come in as a reverse flag, but you don't want to chase it 4, then chase it 5, then chase it 6, because then you're going to want to chase it 7, chase it 8, chase it 9. So generally what I would do is I would break my rule at skip 4. And then I would drop it at 5 and drop it at 6, and then I might consider breaking the rule again at skip 7, and then drop it at 8, and then drop it at 9, because it could be going into another dormant period. Now if it hits at 4, that's good and you played it, but if it hits at 5 and you didn't play it, then you take the loss, and now you look for the hot skip again. You look at skip 0, skip 1, skip 2. Right? And if it doesn't hit at 5 or 6 and hits at 7, then again you look for the hot skip 0, 1, 2, or 3, because you're looking for it to be the number is coming in. So it is a reverse cascade, right? Because so if you had 27 and then 10 and then 7, you would look for a hot skip. But I don't want to get too far in the future. We're just going to look at this 10 at skip 1, 2, and 3. Now, by distribution, small skips and small gaps occur the most. So a simple strategy could be that if you like the 10 here, you would play evens low with a small gap. So you'd play 8, 10, 12. Now the 12 is pretty decent. It's been looked like it's having a flag or a streak, right? And the number 8 here also is looking pretty good. It has a flag or a streak. It did have this intermediate skip. This skip actually, I think, is what makes the game so difficult, because you don't know when that's going to occur, and um, why it necessarily happens. So the intermediate skip, I like to color it yellow. So I changed this to pink to yellow, and this is like an intermediate. Now generally, if I get an intermediate, another rule that I had established is that after the intermediate skip comes in, I look for a hot skip. So that was one of the ways I would do it. I would always power up on this for a hot skip. Now it doesn't always come in, right? Like here it came in off of the intermediate, you got a hot skip. But off of this intermediate, you didn't get a hot skip. You had a 9, 8 symmetry, right? And also over here, here's a 9, but you didn't get the hot skip. So it doesn't always happen, but that was like a rule that I had kind of established for myself. And sometimes it did well, and sometimes it didn't. But that's the nature of the game. Here's an 8. You have the hot skip over here. So 8, 10, 12. That will be your low evens. And then I might play high odds. So this 34, actually I'm sorry, this 33 is an adjacent here. And this is the fourth hit in the streak. So you have there's 1, 2, 3, and then you're looking for the fourth hit in the streak. And I use this gray arrow to represent the possible fourth hit coming. Again, using the big convention, is that way it kind of helps me remember what's going on by using the colors and everything else. So here's here's your flags, here's your intermediate, 3, 4, evens, odds, fourth hit streak. So you could do, let's say, let me get another O here. Let me copy this O. Okay, so you could do a small gap off of the 33, right? It could be 33, 35. It could be 33, 31. Now remember, the 31 is the coldest number, so it's going to be the most trickiest to come in. The 31 would be better to use K2 in the program, which is actually a new chart, and it's basically just a bunch of step pyramids. And you can try to, by the height of the pyramid, you look for the symmetry. So it would be like a pyramid, and then you try to look for symmetry. But it would have a huge pyramid because it went to skip 69. But you're not looking for symmetry on 69. You're looking for a smaller symmetry. But anyway, so that's a small gap here. Let me see. You could play the 29. Has an interesting sequence here. Unfortunately, it's not the classic pure flag that you would like. It has a 7 here and an 8 here, which means this could go to 7 and 8 over here instead of a 6. I mean, it could hit it to 6, of course, but when you have this 7, 8, you have to be careful that it's not going to go 7, 8 again. You also have the 27, another streak, and again with the 7s, 7, 2, 6, 7. So it's kind of tricky. Or the 25. Now the 25 can repeat. You had the 24, 6, 0 repeated. You could have a 7. You could have the repeat. You could have a hot skip off the 7 here. Or you could do an adjacent off of the 25, 24, 26. However, those would be evens, and if you're doing the low evens, high odd convention, you could do 21 here, right? Or let's say here's a symmetry of 6, 2, 6 for the 23. But this 21 is interesting. You have the adjacent this way, 21 to 20, or the adjacent this way, which is 33 off of 34. So let's see what else we got here. I guess the last thing would be the scoreboard. I don't know, the last workout was much longer. It was like 30 minutes. And I I don't know, I can't get into the same flow that I was in. Maybe this flow is better or this flow is worse. I don't know. But if I do the scoreboard, all right, and you sort by the out rank, by the out column, right? Because Gail Howard in the book says somewhere that you can do the last 5 games, um, and that is a combinatoric variable that I use in Excel where I'll play. I try to play if I think that 4 or 5 numbers within the last 5 is due, I'll generally play only skips from 0 to 5 in the hopes of trapping a 4-number win, because it's tough to guess the higher, larger skips. Now in this particular scoreboard, I didn't run chart 3, and that's because you should actually have a hard copy of the quick stats. Could be the entire history. You could sort it by the hit ratio so you know which is the best numbers, and then you print it out, right? And besides, when you look at the scoreboard, the rank is right here. So this is the quick stats, and if I'm not mistaken, the only numbers that are smart picked on chart 3 are numbers that are an average of 100% or higher. So it's not really necessary. Now I did not run chart 4 either, because you should really have a hard copy of your chart 4. Now I had done this using Excel. I made like my own graph paper, and when I first started, it was a 4A. It went from left to right. But now I'm doing from top to bottom, and when I do the update in Excel, I'll show my chart 4. So, but I don't know how well you are in Excel. You could use graph paper. I could try and see how to make a form and see if I can make it available to be printed out. I'm not sure how to do that. I'm gonna have to get on one of these Excel forums and see how I can share that. Or I could actually email something to you, and then you could use it as a hard copy. Now I like to do it every day. I update it and look at it. And when I'm really into it, I can memorize the patterns of all the numbers. So I can like close my eyes and I'll go, number 1 is skip 2, number 2 is skip whatever, and just go down the line, and you know all the hot numbers, and you know all the cold numbers. But it takes a little time. I mean, maybe 3-4 days you could memorize it, and then you try to keep that momentum going, because if you stop and you take a break and you forget, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but you know, it's a good feeling to know that you're on top of the game, where you know exactly where every number is in their skip. So let's see, what else was I saying here? Okay, so getting back to the scoreboard. Chart 5 I run because the repeating numbers you generally almost have a repeating number in every game. So in simplicity wise, you would keep the 34 and the 25, you put it in your wheel. Now I already mentioned the 25 is one of the high odds. So yeah, you definitely would want to consider that. And then also, I generally cross-reference with the positional repeater chart in Excel. It's a little bit more advanced, but when I make the ice pyramids, it helps to be able to time the long skip within the positional repeater chart, whereas the flag formation is much more easier to determine, because it's 2-5, or you're just looking like 3-3 symmetry or 4-4 symmetry within your skip patterns. And then let's see, number 6 I run because that's one of my favorite charts, and that's one of the charts I'll look at for every draw, just to see which number exceeds within for that particular skip in that chart, and that's the one where it has the columns, and the columns are you know, it has the big ones on the left, and then it goes down. And so I actually did a whole video on that for Singapore regarding chart 6. So you get a good idea of which numbers are flagged to be coming out at particular skip. So this is let's see, like here, the number 28, it's marked for chart 6, the skip chart, and you have 0302. So there's some symmetry there. Here's the number 1. It's got 2-2 symmetry. It's marked there. And here's skip number 6, skip number 8, skip number 9. It's a little tougher for the longer skips. Now I don't run chart 7 because you should know using the 4B, which is the number that's on your radar, right? So you know the 10 is the hottest number in the game. And then one of the strategies I would do is, again, if you had the 8, 10, 12, right? The low evens, and then you have the high odds. So here's the 33 adjacent. But another thing you could do is that if you know that the 10 is your first number, if you assume the 10 is your first number in your first position, you could do something like 10, 20, 30. As a general standard, I use a spread of a 21 plus or minus 1. Now, that was just originally, I had found that just by formatting a certain color and then counting the games in between that it hits. And I had found that there was a flag formation there. So going backwards, though, I could say that I used the Fibonacci number plus or minus 1. So you could say 21, and then plus is 22, and minus would be 20, right? So if you do 10, 20, 30, I would and then 21, 22, right? You look and see how this skip pattern looks. Now, generally, I try not to go over 24 because that strategy of knowing your first number and assuming your last number. So let's say even if you thought your first number was 6, you do 6, 16, 26. Now that worked better when I was timing the last digits, and certainly if a last digit is really overdue, it might be coming in eventually, but the overdue tracking for last digits goes like way back. You have to go like 180 games and do a sum up all of the hits to see what's overdue and what's hitting. But in Excel, it's easier for me to see, and but you could also do that just on making like on a piece of graph paper as well, which I'll try to show on a separate video for in Excel, because like I said, I was playing the Texas through my cousin in Texas, and so I had made all these I did all the Excel stuff, but then there was so many patterns that I had to then do it on paper, and it's like really tiny graph paper, and it's fitting all of the variables and combinatorics and everything else. So you could do, so if you do 10, 20, 30, all right, and then you could look for the numbers in between. That's another way, another strategy kind of you could do. So if I did 10, 20, 30, I would then look for, let's say, you have the 25 to repeat here. That was the one that was on the chart 5, the double hit ratio chart. Okay. Or you could do the adjacents. So you could have the, off of the 20, you can have the 19, or off of the 20, you can have the 21. Now this is 23 games, so it's approaching sidereal, and these skips, again, you could use K2, which is a new chart in the game, to determine the symmetry. So one combination you could consider would be, let's say, 10, 18, 19, 20, and then 30. Now you really want to just try to get that first 4 or 5 number under your belt, because it takes a lot of the pressure off. Because if you start playing, you start losing a lot of money, you're probably going to get discouraged and you'll want to quit. So for me, it was more than just managing patterns and numbers. I had to manage my money, and I never did a huge wheel. I would always, I would play like 3 lines, and my strategy was always for the first and second number to repeat. The second number hasn't been repeating in lately for Texas. The first number has been repeating a lot, and the 4th position number has been repeating a lot. But I'd have to show you that with a different chart. So let's see. So we're approaching 30 minutes, so I guess I did get pretty much everything in that I wanted to say. So yeah, I would say keep an eye on this 10 for a hot skip. Consider 8, 10, 12, 33, let's say 25, so you can have the repeat number in there. And then consider 10, 20, 30, and then the 2 adjacents, 19, 21. So I generally like to have an idea of a combination that I like. Now, right now I'm playing Pennsylvania, and there's one combination that I kind of came up with, because you have to be careful you don't go overboard with your workouts. Your workout should be, I would say, minimum at least an hour, or yeah, at least minimum you want to do an hour and go through all the charts. You don't really want to do too much though, because it can be overkill, and I've done overkill, like you're just doing workouts, and then you don't even come close, so it's like it's not even worth it. But I forgot what my point was. Anyway, so yeah, consider that spread, the spread of 20. So you have 10, 20, 30, and then let's see, and if you have the 1, which is really hot, you might do 1, 11, 21. And I try to show you how to construct those other charts. And it's not really a chart, it's just a tracking sheet, basically. I guess that's it. It's really not much I have to say here. Let me see. Let me just go back and check and see what's going on over here. I guess that's it. So anyway, any questions, comments, you can put them on the bottom, and I'll try to get around to doing the Excel update, and we'll see how these numbers do. Should do all right. I think you should probably make a goal. Did I say this before? I don't know. Maybe I said it in the last video, but you could probably manage 1 jackpot a quarter. If you conservative in your wagering, but at least you want to get a 4 or 5 each quarter, and then you're playing with house money, and then it takes a lot of the pressure off. So that's something to shoot for next year. So anyway, I hope this video helped, and again, any questions, comments, put them below, and as always, happy number hunting.